Yo, what's up everyone, Kevin here. In this video, I'm gonna compare the Burton Step Ons to the Nidecker Supermatics. These are two step-in binding systems that have been very popular recently, and I've had the chance to ride and test out both of these bindings over a few days. So I wanna give you guys my feedback of what I found out through the tests across 4 different categories, and I'll let you know which binding I recommend as my favorite. And I'll also be including traditional bindings into the mix, just so that you know how the step-ins compare to traditional. So I've broken it down into the ease of stepping in, how easy it is to step out, the riding performance, and then finally the overall build quality. For the first category of the ease to step in, traditional bindings, they are pretty decent. You'd have to undo the straps, put your foot in, and do the straps back up. So I give them a 4 out of 5. You can also use the traditional bindings if you're a beginner all the way through to expert. Next, for the Supermatics, for the ease of stepping in, this binding is obviously designed to be very easy to step in. However, there are some drawbacks. One is that if you're a beginner, you have to be standing to use the step-in function. The other is that when you do step your foot in, you have to press down on your heel to get it to click. And if you're in some soft snow, that pressing down motion can be a little bit difficult. However, in most situations, the step-in function is very quick, and I find myself getting into this binding faster than people with traditional bindings. So on the step-in function, I give it a 4 out of 5. For the Burton Step-Ons, this is also obviously designed to be very easy to step into, and in general it is. If you're on the slope, stepping your foot in, I get in much sooner than people with traditional bindings. However, if you are in some soft snow, it's gonna be a little bit extra work stomping your heel down to get that click. The other drawback is that if you're a beginner, you're not gonna be able to really use these because again, you have to be standing up to put your foot into this binding. So some pros with the speed of getting in, but some cons as well. So I give it a 4 out of 5. Next, we're on to the ease of stepping out of the binding, and the traditional binding does a really good job of that. When you want to take your foot out, all you have to do is quickly undo the latches and your foot can come out very quickly. My score for the traditional bindings for stepping out, I give it a 4.5. For the Nidecker Supermatics, stepping out is a little bit challenging, to be honest. So I find that when I'm stepping out of the Supermatics, the hardest thing is trying to reach down and push onto the lever that releases your foot. If you have any issues with bending over, with trying to get your foot out, this isn't gonna solve the problem because you really have to reach all the way towards your heel and press firmly to unlatch your foot. For me, I found this was trouble a few times when I was riding through some snow and I was stopped on my toes and I'm reaching over and really trying to extend and push with all my might to release this latch. From my experience, people with the traditional bindings were getting out of their bindings much sooner than I was, and I was having to exert a lot more energy just to get my foot out. Even once you've pressed the latch, you then still have to wiggle your boot out from the binding. So a lot of extra effort, so I give stepping out a 2.5. For stepping out on the step-ons, it was some of the similar issues I had with the Supermatics. So even though stepping in is very convenient, I found having to reach even further towards my heel to pull this lever was a bit more effort. Because of where the lever is and the ease of pulling it up, it's not quite as hard as the Supermatics. My friends with traditional bindings were getting out of theirs much sooner, but it wasn't as much effort with the Supermatics, so I give stepping out with the step-ons a 3.5. The next category is riding, and with traditional bindings, because you have the straps, you can really get your bindings as tight as you like to, and in any circumstance, if I'm at the top of a steep run and I want to give myself a couple extra clicks just to get my boot more secure into my snowboard, you can do that with the traditionals, or if you want to run your boots a little bit looser, you can make up for it with the tightness of the straps. In my opinion, with the straps, you get really good riding performance, you feel very locked into your snowboard, so I give it a 5 out of 5. Riding with the Supermatics, I did feel very secure. The straps actually really help you just to have that feeling of having straps, just giving you that much more of that support and locked in feeling to your snowboard. One thing I did find is that you can't quite have the straps really tight or else it makes it too hard to get your boot in and out of the step-in system. And also, if you're at the top of the run, you're not always going to be able to give yourself that extra click. Even though you have the function of being able to ratchet down your bindings to make them that much more tight, it kind of defeats the purpose of the step-in system because you're not going to be able to get your boot out or get it in the next time. So you do have to ride with your bindings just a tad off of how secure you may want them to be. So for those factors, I give it a 4 out of 5. For riding on the step-ons, it definitely grew on me a little bit, the riding style with the step-ons. You have the boot that goes with the step-on, and the boot is actually designed to be a bit more rigid so that you do get more responsiveness out of your riding style. And with your heel fully clicked down with 2 clicks, you get a little bit of extra locked in feeling. So you do get a lot of response out of the step-on bindings. However, when you're riding, you don't get that benefit of just getting that extra couple clicks at the top of a run, just to give you that extra secure feeling. Even though the riding feeling is good in these, it's not great. You're not going to be able to ride at your full potential. I would say you're almost riding at like 85%. So considering those factors, I give it a 4 out of 5. The final category is design, and for traditional bindings, you do have this just traditional design that's been used for years. The nice thing about the traditional design is that you have many different bindings to choose from across lots of different stiffnesses and price ranges. It's a much more flexible design. You can get bindings that are lighter, that are heavier, stiffer, or more flexible. So in terms of design, the traditional is doing the job pretty well, so I give it a 4 out of 5. For the design on the Supermatics, it is very innovative. There's lots of interesting tech that's gone into this binding, and I really appreciate the effort that Nidecker put in to creating a binding like this. However, there are some design things that are holding it back slightly. It is a little bit heavier. It's making your overall binding board combination that much more heavy. I do also find that it's a little bit tough to adjust some of these straps. I was really having to use all my might to loosen and then tighten. And in one instance, I actually had to use like a tool to get it in there to adjust the bindings. And then finally, with the firmness of that unlock lever, I think it's just a little bit too difficult. So in terms of the overall design, I do find it very innovative. So I give it a 4 out of 5. For the design of the step-ons, a few things that I really appreciate about this. It's very simple, which is nice. I like that there's just not that many moving pieces, and also the simplicity of it makes it very lightweight too. Compared to the traditional bindings and really compared to the Supermatics, it makes your binding snowboard combination very, very light. So I really appreciate that. Because of the innovative design of the step-ons, because it's so lightweight and simple, I give it a 4.5. A couple bonus things to mention. With the traditional bindings, you do have the very wide price range from really inexpensive to very expensive, whereas with the Supermatics and the step-ons, you're going to be spending more money. And then also with the step-ons, you do have to pick up boots that are compatible with the step-on system. Also, if you do have any issues with these bindings, traditional are probably going to be easier to replace a piece, where with the Supermatics or the step-ons, you're either gonna have to do a warranty or go through the process of finding the replacement part, which could be more work. In conclusion, between the step-ons and the Supermatics, I have to go with the step-ons with a total of 16 compared to the Supermatics with 14.5. So I think what pushed the step-ons over the edge was just how simple it is and how lightweight. And what held the Supermatics back was the lever to take your foot out. It was just a little bit too hard to get your foot out of the binding after you're done a run. But the winner of the three is the traditional binding with a score of 17.5 out of 20. What makes the traditional the best is that you really get the full potential out of your riding because you can really secure yourself and lock yourself into your snowboard. It's not the most convenient to get your foot in, but for getting your foot out of the binding, it's definitely the easiest with the buckles up front and very easy to pop open. And you also have the most variety of bindings to choose from with the biggest price range. That's my opinion on the step-ons versus the Supermatics. If you guys have any questions or any opinions of your own, it'd be great to hear from you down in the comments. I'll also put links to each of these bindings in the description if you want to check them out. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe here to Snowboard Pro Camp, and I'll see you in the next video. Have fun out there snowboarding.